can I do? 'Cause I'm just a sinking ship, and you're just a pair of lips that I've lost in the moment. All I want is for you to come back. Now I'm caught in the middle of life, and I need you to survive.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Red Pill Diaries. I'm your host, your brother, and your friend Rashid, and I'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining me on the most powerful platform for truth bar none on God's green earth. This is your platform for education, elevation, and edification. This is the Red Pill Diaries. I want to let everybody know we're waiting for Alex to join us. Also, I just got a message from my guy Dimitri. He's asking me, can I push back our show for an hour or so? Okay, something is going on, and I'll find out a little bit more shortly. But we got a triple header for you guys today. Dave is a trip. Let's see what Dave puts up. Greetings from the continent of Ireland. Good one. I needed a nice little laugh this morning, everybody. Yeah, but we'll wait for him not Dimitri, excuse me, for our guy Alex to join us. But I want to say this: what we're watching, that's going on politically and geopolitically in the Western world is outrageous. It's absolute turmoil and chaos, and this goes back to something that I keep telling you, that never in your lifetime did you think that the Western world would devolve at such a rate so dramatically, right? And it is because of time. I constantly go back to time. There's a time and a season for all things. There are times for kings to rule and time for kings to fall. There are times for leaders to lead, and there's time for leaders to be led. There's time for governments to rise and governments to fall. There is time for so-called order or international law according to, quote unquote, the West. And then there's a time when that is over. That is over. And we're living in the time of the fall of the Western world. No matter how you slice it, never have you seen so much chaos. Never have you seen so much division, such a divide in wealth and culture and scientific know-how, because it's going from east to west, west to east now. Never have you seen that. And then when you look at the entire situation, the sustainability of the Western world, you'll see that it is an impossibility for it to continue like this. You make up 1/12 or 1/11 of the world's population, yet you dominate every area of global finance. You dominate every area of industry. Well, you used to dominate every area of manufacturing, every area of politics, every area of geopolitics. There has to be a change. This is why they continue to talk about the thing called a correction. They continue to say that there are bubbles popping up everywhere. And I just hit, while we were talking, I'm multitasking. I just hit Alex up while I'm talking to you guys. What's up, M Sparks? W. Gilchrist in the building also. So never before have you seen all of these things merge or combine at the same time. You see war, the threat of war. You see nations, small, medium-sized, and large, disrespecting and disregarding the demands of the Western world. 20 years ago, you could not have fathomed that. And for the person that I just highlighted on the screen, Um, when I talk to them for it, I will mention what you sent me, the message that you sent me. I got your message. I will message you. Okay, I will behind the scenes. Okay, I won't lie to you. But anyway, again, all the oh yeah, you're from Norway. I forgot. Yeah, salute. But again, never have all of these things happen in conjunction with one another. Think about that. And while we're looking at that, we're watching a world merge outside of the scope, power, and influence and corruption of the Western world. So we see a world merging in or coming in, and we see a world collapsing. This is the problem. You see two objects trying to occupy the same political space, the same geopolitical space, the same economic and financial space, the same cultural space, industrial space, manufacturing space at the same time. And according to science, two objects cannot occupy the same space at the same time, right? One must give way to the other. So we're looking at the smash up of nations, the smash up of the world. Think about this. While America continues to lose her in her escalation war and expeditions around the world, while the West continues to threaten other people, at home, Europe is facing mounting unemployment. They're disregarding the wishes of the people of Europe. The governments are disrespecting and disregarding their own constituencies so that they can pretend as though they are this great power. They're willing to risk their position and their influence to try to maintain power. We look at America. America is doing this on steroids. And all while they're doing this, they're disregarding the livelihoods of their people while the debt burden continues to break the back of Western dominance. Did you think that you would see something like this happen? Did you think that you would live to see? Now, be honest, 30 years ago, could you have fathomed that the American empire would be defeated in such a way by Iran on the battlefield? And listen, what's even worse, she was defeated in the propaganda machine. America never loses the propaganda war. She is the liar extraordinaire. This shows you that every area that they once dominated in, they're losing. We see African nations rejecting partnerships with their former colonial powers. They're rejecting the investment or the you know how when you have a corporation or you have this deal that this government is doing 33%, 33%, 33%, 33% for the government, 33% for foreign investors, and 33% for the corporations that are doing X, Y, and Z. Never did you think that the African nations would do this. They're saying, hell no. You've robbed and pillaged us. Hell no. We will find a way to finance our own drilling, our own excavating, our own search for our own resources. This is happening, listen, simultaneously while American infrastructure is deteriorating. I was watching something the other day. It was last night. And I want you to, if you see me moving around a little bit, and sparring, I damaged my side, my right rib cage on the side a little bit, and so it's swollen. So I have to get comfortable. I have a pillow. So and I did that, not sparring, but I was practicing or whatever. But anyway, That's neither here or there. So if you see me squirming and squiggling, that's why the pain is there for real. And I have pillow behind me and I have a heating pad behind me, so you'll see that. But listen, think about this. We are looking at a time when America has started to smoke her own crack. The European Union has gone from crack dealer to crack smoker. The British um, uh, monetary system has gone from being a crack dealer to a crack smoker. And let me elaborate on what I'm saying. To fund all of these escapades, to fund all of this, the funding of terrorism and these weapons programs and these terrorist operations and organizations and all of these military bases. Since no one is buying your debt, you have to print up more debt, which devalues the current state of your currency. And now that the monetary power is moving from west to east, and the east and the global south are the ones who have the minerals and the gold, what you are doing is smoking your own crack. Again, when the crack dealer starts to deal his crack, or the cocaine dealer deals his cocaine, or the heroin dealer deals their heroin, they look pretty good. They live the good life there. They have the big cars. They have the big houses. They go on the nice vacations. They're looking good. They're buying the best of everything. But just one hit, one toke, one snort, one injection of their own product into their own bodies. After a while, they take another one. And then they take another one. And then they take another one, chasing that first high. And before they realize it, the house is up for auction. The cars are being repossessed. Food is becoming scarce. The clothes that they used to wear, they can no longer afford. And they're looking homely. This is what we're seeing happening in real time to the American financial institutions, the American political institutions, and the American Republican Empire. This is what we're seeing happening to the European Union as it ignores its own citizens. Because they are mad that Africa is reaching for self. Because they're mad that the Caribbean nations are now rejecting the monarchy of Britain and are moving in a direction of total independence, not a part of some kind of commonwealth, but a part of total independency. You're looking at the Latin American nations. There's a great scuffle going on down there because they're reaching for self. Then you look at West Asia. The reason we're having the wars in West Asia and the reason that we're having the all of the chaos is because the West is trying to stave off irrelevance. They're trying to hedge themselves to protect some of their position in West Asia. So war, sanctions, threats, and a lot of propaganda is at work. They are so consumed with their own crack, their own heroin, their own cocaine, that they are willing to risk war in what they deem as the last continent to face war, and that's Europe. They are pushing the buttons of the Russian Federation. There's a study, matter of fact, let me pull this. I'm going to show you how quick this is. Okay, let me do this while we wait for Alex. And if Alex is not here, we'll always have him back on. Or if he comes late, we'll bring him in or whatever like this. But since we're rocking and rolling, we'll keep rocking and rolling, okay? Give me a second. Let me pull this up real quick. This is off the top of my dome. Report says Russia. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. This is off the top of my dome. Okay, listen to this. So we see that as we're talking to Russia, talking about Russia and Europe, and we're talking about how Europe is ignoring what is really going on, and how they are even so mad that they're willing to risk nuclear conflagration or something like that, right? All right. Now, I put these keywords in a search engine, okay? Report says Russia could defeat NATO in 72 hours. I remember reading reports from NATO saying something to the likes of that. That's why it's stuck in my brain. As my mentor, Salahuddin, used to always tell me, or Salahuddin, he would tell me, burn it on your brain. That way they can never take it away from you. They can take your books, they can take your papers, they can take your writings, but they cannot take what you've burned on your brain. So when I read stuff, I try to, that's why when you see the show and I'll say something, I'll say, hey, oh, hold on 1 second, let me put such and such in. Because most times I've heard or read something of that sort, okay? So here it is. I put this in the search engine. Report says Russia could defeat NATO in 72 hours, okay? This is the AI overview, Google's AI overview. Reports suggesting Russia could defeat NATO in 72 hours typically refer to historical wargaming simulations. So this is not without merit, what I'm saying. By the RAND Corporation, and it says sometimes misattributed statements from U.S. officials about a potential invasion of Ukraine. In a direct conventional war, most defense analysts agree that Russia, listen to this, how they try to switch the subject. See, I'm telling you, man, these people would throw you a curveball. They just admitted that Russia would defeat NATO in 72 hours, right? Then they say, in a direct conventional war, most defense analysts agree that Russia does not have the military capacity or demographics to defeat NATO. But your war games, every single one of them, even when you put in weapons and troops that you do not have, showed Russia defeating the entirety of NATO on the landmass of the European continent. So this is what I'm saying about them smoking their own crack. They are willing to ignore their own war games. They're willing to ignore all of the facts. Russia is fielding multiple hypersonic missiles, not including the supersonic missiles and all of these missiles that are close to hypersonic speed. Russia is fielding fifth and now almost a sixth generation air defense complex. Russia has new weapons that they've shown. They're using fifth generation warplanes that are going all the way across Ukraine and not even NATO radars picked up. I did an article about, I think it was a year ago or 2 years ago, on Patreon. And I was using reports from sources and from Western so-called reports that Russia even flew the Su-57 into NATO airspace and returned back to Russia before NATO even knew it. And now we have even more credence to that because they can't even pick up the plane on their radars. And they're flying multiple sorties. So all of these war games took place before Russia unveiled multiple hypersonic weapons, before they unveiled the new strategic submarine, before they unveiled the new underwater Poseidon, before they unveiled the new S-500 and this other system that they have. I forget what it's called, but I was doing research on it. It's a system that is even a little bit more advanced than the S-500. They're testing it. Before the drones, before the upgraded Iskander missiles, before the father of all bombs, this, and before Russia, listen, remember, this, all of these reports came pre-Ukrainian war days. So Russia has a standing army of over 1 million people. Back then, Russia only had about 200,000 or 300,000 troops. So what I'm saying is, we're watching not slow motion anymore. This snowball that was on the hill is coming down very fast, and it's building up mass and momentum. And what we're looking at is the West on copium. That it is hard for them to cope with the reality that they've lost their position, their hegemony. Because when you dominated so completely, globally, in every aspect of international finance or commerce or politics or geopolitics, when you dominated so thoroughly as America and her minions have, to admit that you no longer have that capacity and you're facing multiple peer powers is something that is unacceptable to the war hawks who thought that America could escape the hands of time, that America and the West were invulnerable and they were impervious to historical norms, to scientific facts. And we're realizing that the empire and all of those who are connected to the empire no longer have any clothes. All right, let's see. Bosch going. I'm trying to wait for Alex. I hit him up. I'm waiting for him. And I'm looking down over this place when I'm talking to you to see if I'm getting any messages. Because I have my phone on mute so that it doesn't ring while I'm talking to you guys. And so I have to keep looking down to see if he's hitting me up or whatever like this while I'm talking to you guys, okay? Just want you to know that. So this is what's going on, okay? So if I bump the desk a little bit, it's because I'm looking down, I'm getting, my phone is vibrating or whatever like that, all right? And then I'm looking over here on this pad, this iPad or whatever also. So again, hold on. Better get better soon. Thank you so much. Thank you. Again, this was written before any of these reveals took place. So now we see Russia defang not only Ukraine. Think about, they have beaten the NATO at least 4 times. I think we're on the 5th time or maybe the 6th time. Each time NATO trains and stands up a Ukrainian army that are embedded with, that has NATO commanders and NATO troops and special forces embedded in it. Each time Russia destroys it, NATO finances another one. And remember, Ukrainian forces were the best trained and best armed forces that were in NATO, quote unquote, not in NATO. And Russia has destroyed them 4 or 5 times over. Now, when we look at that, and then we look at the demilitarization of Ukraine and also of its patrons across Europe and including the United States, if there was a conflagration, we would then have to shorten that down from 72 hours to roughly probably half of that. Because remember, Russia's military industrial complex is working on all cylinders, out producing, out manufacturing, not just Ukraine, not just a few European or NATO states, but America and the entirety of NATO. Okay? We have to look at these things. The top global banking and tech oligarchy are fast forwarding us to a man-made and they're starting to mess with my stream too. Because I just saw I got disconnected for a second. And I'm looking at my connection rate and it says excellent connection. And right before the show, I called my service provider and they said that they sent the signal, they cleared everything out, there's no problem. I guess when we start talking facts like this and the passion behind what I'm saying pisses people off. But it's okay. M Sparks hanging there, old boy. We getting too old for the young man's game. You leave me alone. He's talking about me, martial arts and stuff. Oh man, oh my God, good one, M Spark. Raghill says they're willing to sacrifice the overwhelming majority of mankind to reach their goals of psychopathy. Yeah, yeah, because you don't matter, not to them. What matters is their survival, their power, their influence, and to show you how insane these people are. I was looking at something the other day where Trump was talking about. I have it downloaded. I haven't downloaded it to this dashboard, but I have it downloaded on one of my computers. How the United States has enough nuclear weapons to blow up the world 150 times. Has anybody stopped to tell them what the hell is he going to live at after he finishes it? After he finishes blowing up the world, what the hell is he going to live? Huh? See, they don't think about these things because they are inebriated with power. You blow up the world once, I can do it 30 times. This is a measuring of the men measuring themselves against each other. You know what I'm saying? This is what this is. This is why I love when Victor Gao says we don't, and the Chinese defense minister says we don't need all those nuclear weapons. All we need is enough to stop you. That was common sense. What the hell do you need 5,000 and 10,000 nuclear weapons for? Huh? You say it's for your national security. How can you secure your nation if you use the weapons and you destroy the entire globe? Your nation is gone. You can't go to Mars. I don't care how many Star Trek. I don't care how many Space 1999s. Oh, that shows my age right there. All of these space movies, all of these Odyssey's endeavors. You cannot live on another planet because you're not the essence of that planet. I don't care about this stuff that they're talking about. We're going to Mars to live. How the hell are you going to live there? You're not a natural part of the environment. You're not from Martian soil. You cannot breathe the atmosphere. You cannot even drink a drop of water there because of the environment that the water is from. Forget all of these fairy tales and look at the reality of it. See, they are so mad that they're losing their grip on everything. People don't take the time out to think about this. They're talking about moving to another planet to live. If you took care of this one, you wouldn't have to go anywhere. And you search for life in outer space. Life in outer space, if it's watching you and the way you're doing things, they don't want you to find them. Because you might go there trying to tell them how to live, what to do, and how to conduct their life. Because you're doing it here. Have anyone ever stopped and thought about the madness of the leadership of the West? Because we're moving in a new paradigm. And it is causing them to go insane. As a matter of fact, we're going to go to a couple clips in a minute. Okay. I want you to, I want to, first of all, let's see. I think I want to play this clip right here because this right here exposes the insanity of Donald Trump. And not just Donald Trump, by extension, the entire Western leadership. Okay. And yeah, we're talking Starmer. Yes, he's stepping down. All of this stuff like this. But you got another Starmer stepping up as prime minister. None of them want to see the Western world uh, be equal with everybody else because if you're equal, you lose your advantage. And if you lose your advantage, you can't dictate to everybody else, especially from your perspective and your view, because you are exceptional and everybody else is beneath you. But I want you to listen to this, to Mr. Trump, as he denies saying what the entire world knows what he said.
What changed? Because you insisted no new wars.
First of all, I didn't guarantee no war.
That is the president asking you not to believe your own memory.
When you say I promised, I didn't promise anything. I don't like these endless wars. This is not an endless war.
Trump absolutely did promise not to get the US involved in wars. He said that over and over again in 2024, including in some of his highest profile speeches, like this one at the Republican National Convention.
With our victory in November, the years of war, weakness, and chaos will be over. I don't have wars.
He even did it in his election night victory address.
I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars.
He also said it while campaigning in key swing states like Pennsylvania and North Carolina.
Under Trump, we will have no more wars.
Now, it is true that he often spoke with some more nuance, like pledging to end endless wars or promising to prevent World War III, not necessarily to keep the US out of every war. But on multiple other occasions, as you just heard, he promised to avoid all wars, period, no qualifiers, end of story.
Now, the man is denying what they have on video. Cognitive dissonance. He just, in an interview just a few days ago, said that we could go into Cuba and do another rendition of what we did in Venezuela. This is what he said. To remove a nation's president or a nation's government is defined by international law as illegal and an act of what? War. Is that not right? Because what if Venezuela or what if Cuba kidnapped J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio or Donald Trump himself? What would the United States say that was? They would say that that was an act of terrorism and that they had committed an egregious act of war against the United States and the American people. Therefore, America would be using the full might of its military to extract those people from Venezuela or Cuba, right? Because it would be an act of war. But Trump says, I didn't say it wouldn't be no new wars. And at the same time, they're showing videos of him saying, under Trump, there will be no new wars. And by the way, did you see the clip where he had the wrap around his ear? You remember when he was supposedly shot? And I told you guys I didn't believe that one bit. I told you I thought all of that was fake and staged because all of these events always happen at a time where he's in trouble and trying to distract, or his poll numbers dip or something like that. Have you ever seen a person? I'm just gonna put this out there to you guys. Have you ever seen a person get shot in the ear with a high-power rifle and still have that ear? I'm asking you because we've watched boxing, right? And we've seen Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield, and we saw Mike Tyson bite off the earlobe of Evander Holyfield. And it had to be stitched on. And to this day, Evander Holyfield, when he shows it to you, you can still see the damage to the ear. And that's from biting. But Donald Trump was hit supposedly with a high-powered rifle. Not a scar, a scratch, or anything. I'm gonna play that again and then I'll stop it. I just want you to see the patch over his ear to illustrate what I'm saying, okay?
What changed? Because you insisted no new wars.
First of all, I didn't guarantee no war.
That is the president asking you not to believe your own memory.
When you say I promised, I didn't promise anything. I don't like these endless wars. This is not an endless war.
Trump absolutely did promise not to get the US involved in wars. He said that over and over again in 2024, including in some of his highest profile speeches, like this one at the Republican National Convention.
With our victory in November, the years of war, weakness, and chaos will be over. I don't have wars.
He even did it in his election night victory address.
I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars.
He also said it while campaigning in key swing states like Pennsylvania and North Carolina.
Under Trump, we will have no more wars.
Now, it is true that he often spoke with some more nuance, like pledging to end endless wars or promising to prevent World War III, not necessarily to keep the US out of every war. But on multiple other occasions, as you just heard, he promised to avoid all wars, period, no qualifiers, end of story.
So you see the ear, you see the patch, then you look at the ear after that, no scars, no scar tissue, no damage, no none of that. I'm just saying, since we looked at that video of him lying and we can look at we can see with our eyes, they're telling you, don't believe your lying eyes. That's what they're telling you. And in reality, we're seeing that this was a staged Walt Disney World presentation for you all, right? This is the sleight of hand from the magician. But they won't stop because their world is crashing. Their power is being destroyed. As a matter of fact, I want you to, I'm going to play these clips for you, okay? I want you to listen. Know as what I'm saying, because this is very important, because this also plays to Europe, okay? America defunds education, Head Start. She's defunding science. She's defunding environmental studies. She's defunding. She's putting a debt on the college kids, right? Your future leaders, lawyers, doctors, scientists, and all of that stuff. A huge debt. She can't bail out the families because that's welfare, but she can bail out the corporations, and that's not welfare. Her farmers are struggling. She bails out the white farmers and refuses to bail out the black farmers, and the black farmers that are left are going belly up bankrupt. You didn't know about that, did you? That's crazy, right? But that's what's going on in America. So that they can take the land and do what they will with it. But look, all of this is happening. But America has openly stated that her new budget is one for her defense, not just the government budget, but the War Department's budget will be at least $1.5 trillion. Now you're expecting the entire world to fund your War Department so that this War Department could then formulate policies to stop other people from becoming independent of the US dollar. You see how insane that is? You're funding that to stop other nations. You want other nations to fund you to stop them from getting technology that will make them compete with you, from getting industries that would make them compete with you. You want your victims to fund your war escapades, right? But this is getting out of hand. As a matter of fact, let's listen to this little short clip here of what this guy is talking about when he's talking about it. And he's making a great point, the point that I've made multiple times over, okay, about America's debt and the interest on the debt. And by the way, I thought he said it was 1 trillion. At the time he said it was one, but I have another clip where the guy updated it and he said that the interest payments was, I think he said 1.2, 1.3 trillion dollars or something like that. But I want you to listen to this, okay?
Interest. In 2020, the government paid about $345 billion to service that debt. This year, in 2026, that cost is pushing $1 trillion per year. So we are borrowing to pay the interest on what we already borrowed.
You see that? You see what's going on? Hold on 1 second. All right, there we are. You see, you got over $1 trillion in debt, interest on debt. So you're borrowing. Isn't that what the crackhead does? He borrows over here to go get him a hit, and borrows over there to go get him a hit, and he'll steal him something over there to go pawn to get him a hit to keep the high going. Now, are you starting to see the patterns behind this? So listen, I put this in the search engine while I'm talking to you guys. So you saw me typing while I'm talking to you guys. US pays $3 billion a day on interest payment. And it says, the AI overview. The US government currently pays an average of about $3 billion per day in interest on its national debt. The total amount paid to service this debt represents one of the fastest growing categories of federal spending. The scope of these payments includes annual costs. The Congressional Budget Office projects that a net interest payment will total over, not just 1 trillion, over $1 trillion in fiscal year 2026. Historical context. These daily costs are now larger than what the government spends on major programs like Medicare, Medicaid, and national defense. So you got an interest payment that is comparable to your national war payments. Then it says, average rate. As of the latest data, the average interest rate on the total marketable national debt is approximately 3.38%. Now, is that sustainable? Is that sustainable? I'm asking you all. Because the more she borrows and the higher the interest rate goes up, the more she has to pay back. How can an empire be sustained like that? They have to have war. They have to find marks to steal resources. And I continue to tell you, that was why they so brazenly went into Venezuela and took not Hugo Chavez, but President Maduro. And that's why they had no choice but to go into Iran. It wasn't all Israel. These were writings from think tanks. How to keep America relevant in a time of rising global competition from Russia and China. So they see the dollar being displaced. They see all of the levers of power which America exerts over the financial institutions globally being challenged. So what to do to stop the hemorrhaging? I'll control at least a third of the world's oil and gas supplies, plus all of their water resources, because Venezuela has a huge freshwater thing. They talked about it with what was it, Greenland? Was it Greenland? Right? Because they wanted the minerals from Greenland, and they wanted the reserves of untapped oil and gas and fresh water deposits. Water is the key. But we'll talk about that on a later program. So Lindsey Graham, when he said that this is worth the fight, if we subdue, and I'm paraphrasing right here, Iran, we sit on 33% of the world's oil and gas reserves. What does that mean for the American economy? What does that mean in real terms for the American Republic? And what does that mean in real terms for the American empire? That means regardless to the rise of China and regardless to the rise of Russia, if America were able to do that, then she could still keep the dollar relevant, even if the dollar is not the sole currency of use around the world, because you would still have to buy 33% of the world's oil and gas in dollars, because it would be under America's rule. So the war was necessary in the minds of the lunatics, in the minds of the war hawks, because what's yours is theirs. As I continue to tell you, when they talk peace, oh, America's for peace. They're not talking about P-E-A-C-E. They're talking about P-I-E-C-E. America is for a piece of your revenues, a piece of your sovereignty, a piece of your resources. That's the piece that they're after. You'll get fooled by the word peace and think that America is trying to really hammer out a peace deal with Russia. If America is trying to hammer out a peace deal with Russia, then why is she doing all these backdoor things, talking about, well, if we sign this deal, can we invest in Siberia? Can we invest in this? Can we buy into this corporation? Can we buy into this gas thing consortium? Can we buy? Because they don't want P-E-A-C-E. They want P-I-E-C-E. They want a piece of the pie to keep the empire relevant in a changing world where it is becoming less and less relevant, and where the European Union is becoming totally irrelevant. You understand? I hope you understand. And as I told you, you see me swiveling around. I have a heating pad and a pillow behind me. For those of you who are joining us, I have that due to the fact that I injured my ribs doing martial arts. So, and M Sparks, don't you utter a word. Don't you utter a word, or we're falling out today. Anyway, let's go to something real quick. Let me take you to something real quick. Listen to this.
It was then the location for the peace treaty signed in 1919 to end World War I. And now the Palace of Versailles, just outside of Paris, also the location for the signing by Donald Trump of the US and Iran peace agreement. Trump signing after a day at the G7 summit, even as he threatened, though, to resume attacks if Iran fails to honour its commitments. The deal, also signed by Iran, it offers a permanent end to hostilities, the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, and the starting of a 60-day negotiating clock to reach a final deal on Iran's nuclear program. Criticism, though, that it offers Iran several benefits while extracting little in return. Well, we'll discuss it in just a moment. But first of all, Ellen Gainsford has this report.
This was not easy, I can tell you.
There were historic surroundings for US President Donald Trump's much-anticipated signature. The agreement was inked in the Palace of Versailles, with French President Emmanuel Macron looking on. President Masoud Pezeshkian did the same on behalf of Iran. So what's in the 14-point Memorandum of Understanding? The agreement extends the current ceasefire, including in Lebanon, leaving 60 days for Iran and the US to come to a more detailed, longer-lasting agreement. Concessions to Iran include allowing Tehran to sell its oil freely, immediately, while the full lifting of sanctions and the release of frozen assets will happen over time, linked to the progress of future talks. And a $300 billion fund will be developed to help the reconstruction of Iran. It's currently unclear whether the US will contribute. It's a controversial issue that's been much criticized, including within Donald Trump's own party. It reopens the Strait of Hormuz, with 2 months assured toll-free. But for now, there's no longer-term guarantee that Iran won't impose a fee. The US will also end its naval blockade on Iran. On the all-important nuclear issue, Iran has agreed to never develop a nuclear weapon and pledged to dilute its stocks of enriched uranium. But the exact details of how this will be guaranteed will be hammered out in future talks on an extendable 60-day timeline. The JCPOA, the Obama-era agreement, which Donald Trump scrapped, took around 20 months of negotiations to develop.
Well, International Affairs Editor Doug Herbert is with me now here on set. Doug, as you see it, this is a deal in name only.
Well, it's not just how I see it. It's many Republicans are angry, a little bit relieved that something happened, but they're also in a state of disbelief. This is a deal in name only, and there's almost a bit of dishonesty even calling it a peace agreement, quote, a deal. It's none of the above. It's a memorandum of understanding in itself is a mishmash of words that means nothing. Boil this down to its essence right now. Even the pro-Trump New York Post, the tabloid in New York City Trump loves, said, and this is a quote, that Trump's Iran deal gives the Islamic Republic big wins up front. America gets nothing. That is the sense you're hearing reverberating across the political spectrum, like I said, even among many Republicans, that this is a deal that no matter how Trump and his associates try to spin it, it just can't be spun. The spinning needs spinning, in a sense. And why do I say that? Well, first of all, some of the main elements. Going into this war, you'll remember that Trump vowed unconditional surrender would be the only conditions under which they'd stop bombing. Not only is this not unconditional surrender, but it seems that Iran has emerged emboldened, politically, if not militarily. Militarily, yes, it's definitely been weakened, if not decimated, but emboldened both in a political sense and perhaps in an economic sense, and I'll explain that in a sec. So the main thing that we're being sold on this deal, or Trump is trying, the Strait of Hormuz is effectively reopened. Well, true and false on two fronts. It's going to be reopened for the next 30 days. The U.S. is going to lift its blockade on Iranian ports, Iranian oil shipments in and out of its own of Iran's ports. But in effect, Iran retains leverage. It's been very clear about this. It is absolutely unclear what happens after the 60-day period. Iran says that it reserves the right to impose service fees and to retain sovereignty, effective control over the Strait of Hormuz. So right there's no deal. There is simply a memo of understanding, and my bet would be that Iran is very much going to keep its eyes on that more than fine print there. And remember, Strait of Hormuz was open before the war. So we're back to the pre-war status quo. I'll say that again. The Strait of Hormuz was open before the war. Donald Trump started this war of choice, had it effectively closed, Iran effectively closed it, so it's now reopened. We're back to where we started. The other big thing, there's no mention, by the way, of ballistic missiles. There's no mention of the proxies, Iran's sponsorship of militants throughout the region. In this deal, everything, Stuart, and I mean everything in the kitchen sink, is punted down the pitch to a later day. So we are left with the deal which, as a Republican, man named Bill Cassidy from Louisiana, who actually lost to a Trump-backed MAGA candidate in a recent election, so you could say he has nothing to lose. But he basically said this is the worst foreign policy blunder by the United States in decades. And that is a sentiment that we are hearing echoed across the political spectrum today.
There's another big unknown, isn't there, Doug? I mean, notably, of course, is Benjamin Netanyahu going to play ball with this deal?
Benjamin Netanyahu was not privy to this deal. He did not sign the deal. And you're absolutely right. This is not a minor point. This is not, stopping a party pooper and torpedoing the deal before it's even had a chance. This is perhaps one of the most massive unknowns in this deal, because as of this hour, Israel has made no indication, in fact, just the contrary, that it is ready to give up, as it sees it, its right to retaliate against Hezbollah, the Iranian-backed militant group in Lebanon, which essentially controls the country, calls the shots there. And Iran has made it clear that if that war continues and that if Israeli troops, here's a big one, don't don't withdraw from southern Lebanon, which they've essentially occupied, if that doesn't happen, the war could resume again. Iran is ready to consider the so-called deal, which isn't a deal, violated. So some of the most the pillars of this deal, can't emphasize it enough. It's not torpedoing the deal. It's not being negative. It's not being subjective to say this isn't a deal. The Strait of Hormuz is back to what it was before the war for now, for a few days. Iran still says it controls it. The Israeli troops remain in southern Lebanon. There's been no indication Benjamin Netanyahu, facing elections in October, is not enthralled to his hardline coalition government and will do their bidding and not Trump's bidding. So, in a sense, all bets are off. And the nuclear issues, all of it remains to be negotiated. As the New York Times said in its lead editorial today, opinion editorial, the U.S. has emerged economically, politically, and militarily weaker from this deal. There's no other way to spin it, even if it's obviously a relief that for now the guns have been silenced.
So here's a few important things to go into about that. Trump said, and I have the video on the computer, but I'm not going to play this video yet. I already played it a day or so ago. He said that the reason that they did this is because they only had a couple weeks, I think he said 4 weeks worth of oil left. Now, here's the kicker here, that nobody really even thought about it. I didn't think about it until I'm listening to this video again. We see that the world markets were starting to crumble. We saw high inflation starting to get even higher. We saw shortages of goods. We saw, excuse me, nations being outraged about the policy. But here's something that we didn't take in consideration: the pressure on the dollar in such a way. And what I mean by that is this: most oil that is being sold, or oil products that are being sold, are sold in dollars. That means that nations had to buy dollars so that they could buy oil or oil products. And also, when the transactions take place, America gets a cut of those transactions also. So now she was shooting herself in the foot even more, because that means that nations weren't buying dollars. That means that she was not getting her mafioso cut also of the dollar sales, so that the people could get the oil or the oil byproduct. So Iran was hitting her in multiple ways. Do you understand? We talk about an economic collapse, but you never considered that that was a part of his team's thinking. Hey, man, we're being constrained financially through all of this other stuff, but it is also undermining the dollar in such a way that we're losing revenues because they tried treasury sales and they didn't work. And this is what Iran gets out of the deal here. This is Gregory Manarino. This is about 45 seconds. And this is what he says. Okay.
So let's start off with the major key point. With this MOU, which is not a deal, it's a memorandum of understanding. The United States has suffered a major strategic loss. Here is a breakdown of what's in the MOU. Now, for Iran, the MOU gives Iran, number one, immediate termination of military operations against it. Number two, 60 days before the hardest final terms must be settled. Okay, very ambiguous. Number three, Iran keeps the current status quo of its nuclear program pending the final deal. That was the major core objective of this war. Okay. Number four, no immediate removal of enriched or enrichment material, no immediate destruction of it, no disposition is left to a mutually agreed future mechanism. Number five, no final enrichment cap. Enrichment and nuclear needs are pushed into final deal talks, whatever the freak that even means. Number six, no new U.S. sanctions during the pending period, no additional U.S. regional force deployments. Number seven, U.S. begins removing the blockade immediately and fully ends it within 30 days. Number 8, Iran keeps leverage over the Strait. Administration talks with Oman and Gulf states. Lovely. Number 9, U.S. Treasury waivers for Iranian crude oil, petroleum products, banking, insurance, transportation, and associated services. Again, ambiguous, basically everything.
So we see all of that, right? And I'm showing you this for a reason, okay? The debt burden that America's empire is under is unsustainable. And she's caught in a catch-22. She's damned, and I do mean that in the literal sense. She's damned if she does something, and she's damned if she doesn't, because it was written on the wall. We see the writing on the wall. She has been condemned to fall because of her arrogance. In the midst of all of this, she's still threatening war. In the midst of all of this, she's still ignoring the suffering of her own people. What did Trump say? I don't care nothing about no suffering. Huh? All I care about is a nuclear weapon. Man, they spit in your face and tell you it's raining. And she understands that this is untenable because of the way everything is happening. And I want to play, I'm trying to get a lot of things out quickly to you all because I don't want to hold you long. Alex didn't make it. He'll probably hit me up and we'll probably have to reschedule. Something came up because Dimitri, something came up and we're going to have to push Dimitri. It'll still be today. We're going to have to push Dimitri's show back also for, I don't know what time I'm going to call him after the show. And then we got Larry Johnson on the platform today too. So we got a triple header. Don't worry about it. But I do want you to do this because it don't cost you anything. Hit the like button and subscribe. Hit the bell icon to get the notifications. Let's beat the algorithm, right? This is the most powerful platform for truth because we speak truth to power and we don't care if it offends anybody. Because if truth offends you, then that means that you're in the wrong. And you need to be corrected. Because if you continue going wrong, bad things happen. Right? All right. So, shout out to everybody in the chat. I'm going to get to the chat in a second. But I want to play this clip here. This is a clip from I think it was 2020. Short clip. Jim Rogers, I believe. I forget the date on it. But he's telling you that there's a reckoning coming. He said it may not come in 2021. It may not come in 2022, but it's coming. America understood that after a while with the Strait closed, with the Baba Mandel Strait being threatened, with the Red Sea being threatened, with the Gulf of Oman being threatened, the Arabian Gulf being threatened. You see what I'm saying? All of these things are byproducts or blowback of American and Western imperialism, hubris, arrogance, and cynicism and racism. All right? So I want you to listen to this short clip here.
History shows that no country stayed on top forever. 100, 200 years at the max, and then they peak and go into decline. So I presume we're no different from anybody else. But one of the problems with history is people don't learn the lessons of history. You know, we had a president recently who didn't know history. Or if he did know history, he said he was smarter than history. I know I'm not smarter than history, and history is very clear. No nation and no currency, by the way, because they sometimes go hand in hand, has stayed on top forever. So America is now the largest debtor nation in the history of the world. We have troops in over 100 countries. There are people who would say that we're overextended financially, economically, militarily, and it looks like they might be right. So yes, no, I worry. It's not a good time to be young in America because what the young people are going to inherit is mind-boggling. I've got 2 teenage kids and it disturbs me. It's good to be old because I don't have to pay. I don't have to pay for all of this. You know, I get the benefits. They're borrowing a lot of money, spending a lot of money. Pretty well, I'm old, okay, do it. It helps me, but it doesn't help the future. 100 years ago, Britain was the richest, most powerful country in the world. There was no number two. 50 years later, they were bankrupt. Literally, the IMF had to fly into Heathrow to bail them out. So it can happen. It has happened. It often happens. And the symptoms, the money printing, the kind of problems you're talking about. I don't think it'll happen in 2001 or 2021 or even 2022, but it's on the way.
I'm sorry to hear that. I don't know why they took that off M Sparks about you not being able to send a super chat. Hold on 1 second. Maybe this will help. 1 second, everybody. I'm trying to send. You could buy me a coffee. The link is there. The code. Scan the code there. I'll leave that up there for a few seconds. My son told me to put this up there. He said, "Get around YouTube." So I left that up there for a second. The Cash App. There's the code for Cash App for those who are, and I'm not begging anybody for anything, but I'm just putting this up there in reference to something that's in the chat. Okay, so if it's not pertaining to you, please don't get mad because I want to get to something in a second. 10 more seconds. And let's go to PayPal. And I want you to know that I don't understand how to do half of this stuff, but my son thinks, is it going to allow? Okay, there we go. I'll leave that up there for 15 seconds. I think it's 50. Let's see. Because I know we have a show to run. And I'm not trying to keep you guys here long, especially after Alex not showing up. But he'll be on. We'll reschedule for him. All right, we did 20 seconds. All right. So I pulled that down. So it's a way to get around YouTube now because I'm man, it's something else. Shout out to people who are watching on Rumble, Odyssey, and the Red Pill Journals. Shout out. Red Pill Journals is our sister channel. Go subscribe there, but also go subscribe, be a free patron. There's an article that I wrote 2 days ago that's coming out tomorrow, I believe. Free. I gave this the first 3 days for the paid members, but it's coming out, and I think everybody needs to read that article. So, and we'll be doing some free shows over there also, but I think everybody needs to read the article. The article is so thorough that, listen, and it's almost like an essay. It's going to take time for you to read this article because I always like to put my ducks in a row and prove what I'm saying. The article has over 40 some paragraphs, short paragraphs, okay? It has 12 videos in it, short videos, and it has a whole bunch of links in there, and it has quotes from different think tanks and different sources in there, and it is proving the fall of America. I'm telling you, you've got to read that article, all right? And then when you read it, hit the like button on it, put the thumbs up or the heart on there or something like that. But you hear what he says. Jim Rogers says America is the greatest debtor nation in the history of the world, right? America understood that she was losing political capital. She wasn't just losing economic capital through the Strait of Hormuz. She was losing political capital, all right? And at the same time, she was pressuring Latin America, the Caribbean, Europe, Africa, and some Asian nations to take her side. In contrast to what she says about China's debt trap, I want you to listen to this right here. China frequently forgives select interest-free loans to African nations. Now, this is not me, this is Google. So if it's a lie being told, it's Google AI, okay? A practice most recently seen in September 2024, when Beijing announced it would waive maturing interest-free loans for 33 African nations. This follows a similar 2022 relief package that forgave 23 interest-free loans for 17 African nations. Now, why am I saying this? Why am I saying? Because it's very important. Because I put an article, I read an article from RT a few days ago on this platform. All right. And it says the end of SWIFT, question mark. China's digital leap in Africa. Now, remember, the more people that signs on to the Belt and Road and the more people that gets China's investment are more susceptible to or more likely to lean towards using the Chinese renminbi in certain trade aspects, which sidesteps the dollar, which sidesteps the euro, which sidesteps the British sterling pound, which means it weakens their purchasing power and political and economic military power. Okay. So this says China's digital payment system being introduced on the continent helps reduce dollar dependency, experts believe. Now, this article was written June 1st, okay? Today is the 22nd. Think about the time there. And it says, as China doubles down on its economic presence, the relationship goes to bricks and mortar. The Beijing Action Plan 2025 through 2027 includes support for 30 infrastructure connectivity projects across Africa, while countries such as Kenya and Uganda are already reviving Chinese-backed transport links, such as the standard gauge railway extension and the Rwani-Mao Summit Highway toward the Ugandan border. For analysts, not for just regular thinkers, not for just the Joe Schmo or average person, but for analysts who are watching, for analysts watching the continent's financial future. Stop right there. Remember Sergei Lavrov, the foreign minister of the Russian Federation, said that in the future, Africa would be the key to global commerce, finance, and industry. Africa would be. But that gets lost. Okay? The Chinese foreign minister and national security advisor, Wang Yi, said Africa would stand at the center of global commerce and politics. Okay? But you didn't hear a peep of that in the Western press because they want you to think people are running in mud huts everywhere. Even though if you go to Mississippi or go a few blocks from here, you can see people in mud huts or tents out there, right? But they have to dehumanize people. But anyway, it says, for analysts watching the continent's financial future, these developments matter not only because they move goods, but also because they may create the commercial architecture for a parallel payment system built around China's digital RMB or the yuan, potentially giving African economies a faster, less dollar-dependent way to trade, which means America wouldn't know what's being traded, when it's being traded, and would not get a cut, which means that the dollar would be weakened, which means that the American military power would be weakened, which means Europe would be weakened, which means what just happened a few days ago, terrorist attacks across the Sahel with Western weapons and Western logistics to create chaos and to destabilize this and to break this down. And just listen to this clip here before we go further.
At this avocado packing facility outside Nairobi, exporters say demand from China has surged in recent years. It's a sign of a broader shift in Africa's trade patterns, with growing volumes and recent tariff cuts expected to support increased use of the yuan in cross-border transactions. Thiku Shah is the managing director of Kenya's Sunripe.
We started exporting in 2022, and at that time the Chinese market was buying between 10 and 20 containers a week. This week, China has landed 200 containers. So you can see the growth in 4 years. So the Chinese market will potentially grow to 1,000 containers by 2030, which is equivalent to what Europe takes. And the Chinese population is almost 3 times bigger than Europe.
China-Africa trade rose by nearly 18% last year, according to customs data. Tariff cuts on imports from 53 African countries introduced in May are expected to further boost flows. Some exporters say they are looking at alternatives to dollar-based transactions. Bankers say the shift toward yuan-denominated transactions is being driven by increased trade with China rather than a direct challenge to the US dollar. As export volumes grow, they say businesses are seeking ways to reduce conversion costs and manage foreign exchange risks. Exporters say the move toward yuan could streamline business operations.
If we invoice in yuan and the banks take yuan in settlement, and then we have a buyer for our yuan, then this would be perfect. Then if government takes it and is able to use that money now to pay back the loans, absolutely.
International Monetary Fund research has found that yuan usage tends to rise with greater trade exposure to China. It announced new measures on Wednesday to promote the global use of its currency.
I don't know why there's no super chat option on there right now. But I don't know why they're always messing with the show. It really doesn't matter. I'm just thankful you guys here. You guys are here to listen to the truth and to engage in collective thought and intelligent discussion. Okay, because we don't get a lot of intelligent discussion anymore. Everybody is offended, especially when the truth condemns something that they had part in or benefited from. No one wants to stand up and say, I'm sorry, I did wrong. Nobody wants to admit to the ills that they have committed. They will look at you as, if you're looking at them for the wrong that they've done, they'll look at you as if you've done the wrong. That's how people act. That's how leaders act. That's how governments act. Childish. They haven't matured mentally. And it's always somebody else's fault. Donald Trump catches an attitude, says he'll bomb a nation. Iran says enough talking. I'm tired of the threats. Walk out. It's Iran's fault. Talk about threatening Cuba, and then some of the Cubans say, I mean, we don't want to talk to you, but we'll invade you. It's Cuba's fault. Some of the European nations fight led by Fico, I think that's his name, Fico, and the one that was led by the former Hungarian leader, who said, hey, let's talk rational with Russia. Oh, you're a traitor, so we'll get you out of office. It's their fault that they have common sense. It's not America's fault. It's not Britain's fault. It's not France's fault. It's not Germany's fault. For all of the ills and the wars and the troubles and the poverty and the destruction, it's never the colonizer's fault. You look at the product and you make mark of the product, but you don't make mark of the manufacturer. How in the hell can you make mark of somebody that's dumb when you dumb them down? That's arrogance at its highest. That's just like you being in a clay class, a pottery class, and they say make bowls today, and your bowl doesn't look anything like a bowl, and you're laughing, hee and ha ha and joking about it and mocking it. Well, you're the potter. You made it. So that's a representation of you. So you're indirectly mocking you. All right. Thank you so much, Rag Hill. Thank you so much. I'm thankful. I'm just going to keep it real with everybody. I just speak the truth, and this is what everybody have a problem with. They have a problem with that, and I'm passionate about it. So when I'm talking to you guys, I'm talking from the heart, but I'm talking from the brain too. This is why I give you so much definition, because my mentor took the time out to teach me this stuff. God bless his soul. He was a father figure to me because my pops died when I was 14, I think, 14, 15. Right? But my male role model took the time out to explain things to me. And I used to always think, man, why are you so hard on me? And one time he pulled me to the side and he said, I know you think I'm hard on you because I'm always making you give presentations and I'm always making you study this and study that. And he said, I do stuff to you that I won't even do to my own kids. He said, because I see the potential in you. He said, I see the potential in you. He said, all you need is this. And man, you'll be unstoppable because you have the passion, you have the drive, you have the love. You have a good understanding. But when I give you this here, you'll be unstoppable. So the passion, the drive, the grit, it comes from deep within. And this is why I do it like this. I could be more robotic like other shows, right? But I want to show you the depth of understanding. I pull up stuff right in front of you. I can talk on any subject by the grace of God. In depth. In depth. Little Panther 0101, watching the stream for the beginning and writing for the Algo, and to thank Rashid and your esteemed guests for the knowledge and insight you're sharing. Thank you. Yeah. The double speak is real though. The double speak is real. Let's see. Then combined with Project Stargate, then combined with massive funding for transhumanism research. These people are insane. This is what I'm telling you. See, I say it a lot. But I don't think most people really get it. These people are insane. There is no other way around it. How can you not be insane? Okay, think a bit. Let me give you an example. If you know that 100 nuclear weapons has the capacity to cause a nuclear winter, just shut out the sun for decades upon decades, right? Life could still exist, but you know that a nuclear winter could do that, right? Shut out the sun. And you know that 100 nuclear bombs would do that. Now, you've been searching for decades and haven't found a habitable planet for you or found a way to get to a habitable planet. How insane do you have to be to then come up and say 100 nuclear weapons is not enough? I need 1,000. I need 1,000 times 1,000 nuclear weapons. And I'm going to brandish these nuclear weapons and threaten everybody with them because I have the most. Hell, you can have as many as you want to. But if I have enough to defend myself, it doesn't matter if you have 10, 20 times more than me. That shows you the immaturity of their thinking. If I can't rule, I'm killing everybody. But they are so scared of death, they build bunkers deep inside the earth to try to hide from a nuclear war. They'll leave you above the earth, but they're saying that they're doing this for your national security, for the security of the nation. You see the hypocrisy of that, the double speak, the insanity of it. That's what they do. But it's all good. Let's see. But I do. It's a lot of. It's a lot of comments in the comment section. But I want to get to something real quick before we go off the air. Please hit the like button before we go any further. Please hit the like button. Please. It doesn't cost you a thing. And please feel free to subscribe to all of the platforms, especially this one. I know they pull tricks, but hey, this is their platform. That's why I don't get too bent out of shape anymore, because pretty soon they're going to pull all of us off of this the platform. Anybody that's not talking what they want to talk, they're going to pull them off anyhow. So it is what it is. So let's enjoy the ride while we're in the car and while we still have gas, okay? Let's enjoy the ride. Let's look at the scenery and enjoy the scenery that God has blessed us with, and overlook all of the small roadblocks and impediments along the way. I think if we can do that, we've got something. All right? So, well, it's close to closing out. I might as well close out because we got 2 other shows coming up. I want to take the time out now to thank each and every one of you for joining me on the most powerful platform for truth, bar none, on God's green earth. This is your platform for education, elevation, and edification. This is the Red Pill Diaries. I'm your host, Rashid, and I'd like to thank each and every one of you from the depth of my soul to the bottom of my heart. And I want to say to you all, do right by others, not because there's some material gain to be had or because of some accolades, but do right by others because it's the right, the humane, and the godly thing to do. Because even when no one else is watching you, remember that God Almighty is watching you. As my late, great, and beautiful mother would always say, God sits high on the throne of power, but he looks low at the actions of man. Know that I love each and every one of you who loves truth, but know that the love that I have for you will always pale in comparison to the love that God has for you. Now, before I go further, I want to say this. A person asked me, why does your voice get raspy from time to time? And I told them, my voice was a strong, strong voice, as you can tell when I'm first starting the show. But when I got that COVID, quote unquote, 2 or 3 times, it damaged something. And so at times it gets raspy, and that's why you see me drinking a lot of water too. It's because of the after effect of that man-made thing that they let loose on everybody, okay? But I want to say to you all, know from the bottom of my heart that I love each and every one of you who loves truth, but know that the love that I have for you will always pale in comparison to the love that God has for you. Until we next speak again, which will be in a couple of hours, stay strong, stay true, but above all things, remember to stay righteous. Hey, mama, look at you, baby boy. I'm shining, Anna. I still love you more than life. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. Peace. We're out of here.
Told you to walk away. That was my first and last mistake. I'm blue without your face. But what can I do? 'Cause I'm just a